Hey guys, my name is Matteo, and today I decided to go back and played some World War Verdun. As you guys know, I love World War shooters. Red Orchestra 2 is easily one of my favorite games this last year that I've played. I adore these types of titles, but since Grand Theft Auto 5 and, well, of course, Battlefield Hardline has been out, I haven't had a chance to really spend a lot of time and play these games. But then I noticed that Verdun just got out of early access. It is now a full release, and so I wanted to jump in and see if they've made any improvements or if the game overall was as enjoyable as I remembered it to be. They really nail the trench combat in this game. In my opinion, it is easily the best trench warfare game out on the market. Some of you might be thinking, well, yeah, that's because there really aren't that many trench warfare games out there. Like, there aren't that many titles, and I would agree with you, but it still doesn't take away from the accomplishments that they've been able to achieve in Verdun. When you're finally successful in infiltrating an enemy team's base by working as a cohesive squad, or better yet, working with some friends over voice comms, this game is a hell of a lot better if you're working with some buddies. Like, it just makes it way more tactical. It is one of the most satisfying things that you can experience in a first-person shooter. This game is brutal, which makes sense because World War was brutal. It was a terrible time during world history, but they do a phenomenal job of mimicking the desperation and simply just how quickly people died in no man's land, out in these killing fields. Basically, everything is a one-shot kill. A few of the pistols, you may need to get a couple of bullets into your enemy if you hit him in the body and you don't get a headshot, but for the most part, people are going to be using a bolt-action rifle, and you're going to drop seemingly out of nowhere. You are going to die over and over and over again. But what I love about this is that, yes, you die a lot. It's those moments when you're finally successful in getting out of no man's land, when you're finally able to get out of this hellhole and into the enemy team's trenches, because it is that difficult to actually get out of no man's land, what makes it so much more satisfying when you finally are able to get the victory and clear out the enemy team in their own base. Another thing I love about this weapon dynamic is that it relies heavily on a player's skill and accuracy if they want to be able to come out of a firefight alive. You guys know in modern military shooters like Battlefield or Call of Duty, even if you're the worst player out there, because everyone's using an automatic weapon, you spray a bunch of bullets down range, eventually you're gonna get lucky enough to secure a few kills here and there. There's nothing wrong with that system, but it's just really refreshing to jump in Verdun, where it relies heavily on a player's skill to be able to win firefights. You will have these amazingly tense moments where you see an enemy, he sees you, you both go for the draw, and whoever was the most accurate, whoever was able to squeeze the trigger with that accuracy first, is gonna come out on top. You can cut the tension with a knife. Like, there are times where you're both missing back and forth, and it's exhilarating. It is phenomenal. It's less about just putting a bunch of bullets down range, and it really requires that finesse that a lot of World War II shooters out there, and I guess maybe it's because I've been playing a lot of Battlefield and Grand Theft Auto recently, but having that pinpoint-like accuracy and being severely rewarded for it was very refreshing. Another thing I really appreciate is that each squad leader gets certain abilities that will assist their team to get into the enemy team's trenches. If no one is using their abilities, you're gonna have a hard time. But if you are working as a cohesive squad and you're calling in the mortars and you're letting everyone know, okay, mortars are coming in, wait a second, and then push in directly after it, that's when you can have those amazing moments. If you're not taking advantage of them, though, like I said, it can be incredibly frustrating. There were times where I had to switch on over to the squad leader. I had to basically tell the squad leader guy, hey, I'd like to be in your position, because literally no one was using their squad-based abilities. I was paired with one squad leader, just to give you a good idea of how frustrating it can be, where he had a UAV that he could call in, basically letting us know what part of the map was most heavily fortified so that we could avoid those positions, but he refused to call it in. I wanted to scream at him. Of course I didn't. I'm not that type of a player, but I was just shaking my head the entire time. It's like, come on guys, we have these tools, take advantage of it. I will admit the game doesn't do a very good job of illustrating to newer players that they even have these abilities. I think they could have done a better job either through the UI, letting them know, or just having like a basic tutorial, because there are rounds that are completely ruined because no one is using these assets, which really are essential if you do want to get the victory. One thing I was a little disappointed by, though, is that while there is a wide array of trenches, some are shallow, almost like a puddle, some are expansive, almost like a maze, like they do an amazing amazing job at making every map feel distinctive from all the other, which is impressive because it's basically just trench warfare. I feel like it was a little bit of a missed opportunity because I thought it would be phenomenal to have maybe some trenches around a city, or where you're trying to infiltrate into a city, or even just a couple of buildings scattered around, like a cottage here and there. I get what they were going for. This is an all-out trench combat game, but I just think it would have been great to have a little bit more of a variety. Maybe I missed a map. I've already played for about 7 to 8 hours, and maybe they've added in a map that I just haven't played yet, because that could have been the case. But at least for those 7 to 8 hours, it has been a lot of mud. There has been a lot of trenches, and it would have been nice if there was slightly more variety there. One thing I do have to heavily criticize the game on, though, is that I had a difficult time maintaining a high frame rate. I have a good PC. I've got a GeForce 980 graphics card, an i7 processor, and while the game looks good, it doesn't look that good. There were times where I was running out in no man's land, and I was dipping down to like 45 frames per second at medium settings. I would have to go sometimes down to low settings if I wanted to maintain that 60 frames per second. Maybe it's just my PC. Maybe you guys have a different experience with Verdun, but when I'm able to run Battlefield 4 on ultra settings and still get 60 frames per second, but this game struggles when I'm already at like medium. Even though they have a wide array of different options, I love how you can really tailor the options to your liking. It's a little baffling that I wasn't able to get that solid 60 frames per second, and for someone who basically makes that a requirement when they are playing a first-person shooter, that was a severe drawback. But overall, if you can't tell, I have been having a blast with Verdun and this World War action. I love the gunplay, I love the team dynamic and how it rewards you for skill, and so if you are interested in playing a really enjoyable trench warfare first-person shooter, admittedly there aren't a lot out there, I recommend that you give Verdun a try. It really does nail it out of the park. Yes, there are some problems. I do have a few issues here and there, but I don't think it detracts from the overall enjoyment that this game provides. But yeah, guys, that is about it for today's video. I hope you enjoyed the realistic World War action. But until tomorrow, have a good one and take it easy.